Hi there, welcome to the Met Office 10-day trend. This summer appears to be playing out in 3 acts. Easy to forget now. Act 1, June, the hottest on record, prolonged dry and sunny weather throughout that month. Then Act 2, a very different period of weather. Very wet during much of July and the start of August, and cooler than normal. We now are seeing signs that the atmosphere has changed once again. The start of Act 3, and Act 3 is also looking different. Unlikely to be especially hot throughout the period, and unlikely to be as wet as we've just experienced. Already the pressure charts are looking a bit different. This is the time of recording. The jet stream now to the north of the UK. We've had it consistently to the south of the UK. That's what's driven the wet and cool weather that we've seen through July and the start of August. However, it's unlikely to stay consistently to the north of the UK. There's an area of low pressure to the west, and that means that what we're likely to see over the next few days is something a bit more changeable returning. But for the time being, through Wednesday and into Thursday, this ridge of high pressure, the jet stream to the north, is going to lead to some elevated temperatures. Thursday, the first time we're seeing above 25 Celsius for some time, since the start of July at least. And actually for most, it's a fine start to the day. Plenty of sunshine, some mistiness around southern and western coasts and hills, but that soon clears away, or at least it becomes confined to the beaches. There'll be some patchy cloud around, and 1 or 2 showers couldn't be ruled out. The southwest of England early on, and then a few heavy downpours developing across mid and North Wales as temperatures rise through the day. But otherwise, for the vast majority, it's a dry, bright and warm, you could say, hot day. Temperatures widely low to mid-20s. We're looking at 22, 23 Celsius for parts of Northern Ireland, 24 to 26 Celsius for parts of Scotland, and across central and southeastern England, 27, 28 Celsius, could get 29 somewhere depending on cloud amounts. It will be cloudier towards Wales, 23 here, and the southwest as well, seeing some showers increasingly as we head towards the end of the afternoon and into the evening as a cold front moves in, and that brings an end to this short-lived, very warm spell. The cold front also likely to bring some thunderstorms, especially to northern parts of the UK. Some heavy rain associated with it, with showers quickly following for the rest of Friday. Here's the heavy rain clearing the Northern Isles early on Friday, so much of it comes through overnight. But then we're into this showery regime, a mixture of sunny spells and showers for Friday afternoon. The most frequent and heaviest downpours, with some rumbles of thunder likely for Scotland, Northern Ireland, towards northwest England and North Wales. Drier towards the south and southeast, and still fairly warm in the south and southeast, especially for parts of Lincolnshire, East Anglia, the southeast of England, mid-20s, perhaps 26 or 27 or so. But back towards average elsewhere, we've got this fresher airflow arriving behind the cold front. Skip forward to Saturday, and yeah, a lot of cloud on the map, as you can see. Areas of showers, certainly, and the most frequent and heaviest downpours towards the northwest, where as a signal for some of these merging to longer spells of rain for central and western Scotland, parts of western Northern Ireland. Fewer showers towards the southeast, and it's going to be breezy as well, so a change compared with Wednesday, Thursday. But if you compare it with the previous Saturday, when of course we had Storm Anthony, it's not as unsettled as that. This is a typical showery August day rather than particularly noteworthy weather coming through. Temperatures back closer to average as well. We're looking at high teens in the north, low 20s further south. And then it's a case of spot the difference on Sunday. There'll be plenty of showers across the UK, the heaviest and most frequent towards the northwest. Again, longer spells of rain in some places, but the showers interspersed by sunny spells. The best of any drier and brighter weather will be in the south, where some places will escape the showers and stay largely dry. So actually, plenty of fine weather if you're in the south, plenty of showery weather if you're towards the north and the northwest. Less breezy on Sunday. Now that means that it won't feel quite as cool, I guess. If you've got some sunny spells in the south, it'll feel quite pleasant. But of course, where we've got the showers, they're going to be slower moving, so they're likely to last a bit longer. They're not going to be pushed through as quickly. So a couple of differences on Sunday compared with Saturday, but broadly the same sort of weather. A showery regime, some sunny spells, and temperatures close to average for the time of year. But The dry theme in the south could be interrupted for the start of next week. Now, this is Friday, and we're running the pressure and jet stream sequence across the Atlantic. We're picking up on this little feature carried along by the jet stream, and in the Met Office model, it gets pushed towards central parts of the UK to bring some longer spells of rain in for the start of next week. That's the Met Office model, but the European model, as an example, takes that little feature and pushes it 700 miles further south into France. It's a small-scale feature. It's tricky 5 days ahead when you're looking at how it interacts with the jet stream and so on, and it's not even formed over the Atlantic at the time of recording. So these kinds of differences are fairly normal within the computer models. However, we need to be alive to the fact that there is the potential for this feature to bring some longer spells of rain into at least southern parts of the UK, or at least some heavier showers, if nothing else, into Monday. But also there's that potential for it to dive a bit further south and not affect us at all. So by and large, no huge differences on Monday with our weather. It looks likely that low pressure will continue to dominate, but whether that is also affected by another feature coming in to bring some heavier showers or longer spells of rain, or whether they miss the UK entirely and stay south and we see a mixture of sunny spells and showers like we're going to see through the weekend, those are the main question marks. Either way, through the start of next week, that low that we see approaching through the weekend, well, that's going to gradually fill. And here's how things look for the middle of next week. Now, this is taking the output from lots and lots of different computer model runs, the European model runs, the Met Office model runs, and the American model runs, and averaging what the outcomes are. And this is the fairly strong signal for the middle of next week that the low will fill, and we've got this ridge of high pressure building over the UK. So gradually the weather becoming less showery, a better chance of longer dry spells developing, and some sunshine, and slightly above average temperatures, or very close to at least average for the time of year, feeling pleasant enough where we've got the sunshine coming through, with low pressure avoiding the UK for now. Then, skipping forward to the end of next week, this is, again, running lots of different computer models and taking the main theme or the main weather pattern that is dominating from all these different computer model runs. And it suggests that that high pressure over the UK will edge further to the east, over Scandinavia perhaps, and low pressure will approach from the west. And with this, you'd have a southerly airflow. You'd still have a lot of dry weather, particularly towards the east. You'd have potential for some systems to affect southwestern and western parts of the UK to bring some rain or showers. And you'd have some warmer weather carried up from the south. These numbers here indicate temperature anomalies. So what this would bring is, certainly a lot of fine weather. We're keeping low pressure at the bay from much of the UK for the time being, and some warmth, but always the potential for perhaps some thunderstorms to start to move up from the south. So that's something we need to monitor closer to the time. Of course, that kind of detail wouldn't be able to pick out a week ahead. So subtle changes through next week. Higher pressure starting to replace lower pressure at first, and then lower pressure starting to approach from the west later on, and some warmth carried up from the south. A very different look to what we've experienced throughout much of July, which was winds from the west or northwest, a lot of rain and some strong winds at times as well. So this is a weather pattern that will give us more typical summer-like weather for the UK, but without a prolonged hot spell. It looks more average, and that's borne out in the temperature trends for the next 2 weeks. This is a central point of the UK that I've picked, and it shows the date there of the forecast out to the next 2 weeks there. The blues are the overnight temperatures, the reds are the daytime temperatures, and the red line there is the average for the time of year, the blue line there is the average overnight temperature for the time of year. And as you can see, there's this uptick in temperatures for Thursday, so that's the warmth that we're seeing on Thursday. Then this downward trend back to around average for daytime and nighttime temperatures through the weekend and the start of next week, and they kind of linger around average throughout most of next week, but there's this signal there for them to climb just above average, or at least very close to average, for the following weekend and into the start of the following week. But the boxes by this stage get bigger and that indicates a greater range of likely temperatures, a greater amount of uncertainty in the forecast by this stage. And just to give you a hint of why that might be, this is the pressure anomaly, the most likely pressure patterns effectively for the week after next. So this is basically the last week of August. And there's a very weak signal across Europe, which is often the case this far in advance during the summer when there are no significant drivers in our weather. The jet stream's fairly weak and fickle at this time of year, and it's quite challenging to predict quite far in advance during the summer months. But this shows slightly higher than normal pressure, most likely towards the north of the UK, slightly lower than normal pressure to the south across the UK. And this would mean that you'd expect perhaps drier conditions to prevail towards the north and the east, with some showers or longer spells of rain occasionally appearing from the south. Although this is the rainfall anomaly chart for the same period, last week of summer, and there's no strong signal for the UK. Now that could mean either different computer models are all saying different things and it averages out at average, or it is a signal for average rainfall, which in August would allow for some showers or some longer spells of rain at times. Likewise, the temperature signal for the last week in August, above average temperatures, particularly towards the north, which would tie in with that fact that you've got a signal for slightly higher than normal pressure to the north of the UK. So quite weak signals by the last week of August. There's not a signal for the washout that we've had throughout July, but there's not a signal for the prolonged heat that we had in June. What looks most likely is fairly typical weather for the time of year, which in August is showers, some longer spells of rain, but also some longer drier periods. And with the signal for slightly above average temperatures, that will certainly feel warmer than what we've experienced during recent weeks.